actually move back forward a step, you just add a shift to that equation and it brings it back. So the shortcuts are going to come in handy. So those are probably the biggest ones. Copying.
Wait, so I know Command C and Command V are copy and paste, but you said Command X?
Yep, that's cut. So if you want to just completely cut something out. So for instance, if I'm working on this picture and I want to do a really rough just cut of this guy, I just want to like remove him, I can just Command X and just take him right on out. If I want, I can Command Z or Command C, which is copy, and Command V and paste. This little guy up here, this is the mover tool, and I can move him, and now I've just copied him over. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. We can copy paste or just straight up cut the person out.
So what about did you say a fourth one?
Yep. So Control Z or Command Z is let's say I wanted to just take back what I did. And like, I don't want to copy and paste that person. Actually, I changed my mind. Command Z, and I will just completely remove him.
Okay, sweet.
The only thing is you're like, actually, I really actually wanted him to be there. Just add a shift. So Command Shift plus Z, and it'll bring them back. While we're at this topic, I'm going to actually ask you to go to, where did I put this person? This is a good time to show it. Number 16, it says eye on layer. Everyone see that? Eye on layer, it's on the notes. As you see, the moment I added that second figure, when I copied and pasted, you might have noticed something happened down here. So I'll do it again. Oh, I guess, let me go back. So I only have my background and now I have my photo. You notice when I added that eye, turn that eye off and on, it basically says, you can see the layer, you can't see the layer. If I were to Control, copy, Command C, Command V, and let's say I do want to put another figure in here. I wanted to paste him, put another one. Another layer actually comes up. So the program reads layers kind of like an onion. You can stack things. We can lower things like the opacity. So that's how much you can see through an image. But essentially, whatever is on the outermost layer, the topmost, is what's going to be on the forefront of your image. So it's the topmost layer, it's what's going to be shown above it. So for instance, if I put him right on top, he's hiding this other guy somewhat because his layer is on top. But let's say I just go straight into my layers and I drag this over top of it, it goes away. So that's kind of that shows you kind of how the onion peel works. Whatever's on the outermost layer, the topmost layer is what's going to be forefront and center to your viewer. And then anything underneath, you know, it kind of like, think about like if you were to stack a bunch of glass next to each other and you're putting like pictures on the inside of the stacks of glass, whatever that backmost picture is, you have all those other layers coming forward. It still will be visible based off how you put your other stacks together. But some parts might be hidden depending on how you make it. So I don't know if I'm explaining that quite that well, but think of it like an onion. Whatever is on the top layer, the outermost layer, that's what you're going to see forefront and center. And so that's some of the basic shortcuts. Command C, copy, Command X, cut it out, Command V, paste. Then if you want to backtrack, Command Z. And Command Z works on other things too, like Google. So it's a helpful shortcut beyond Photoshop as well. All right, let's say you want to resize your photo. Let's say you're bringing in a photo and it is really big. Like you have, for instance, let's say this one I have right here that I downloaded 6.4 megabytes. Let's say, for instance, you're working on a digital collage and you're thinking, I'm going to have a ton of photos and all my iPhone photos are popping up at like 8 megabytes and my file is getting crazy big and I don't know how to curb this so I can manage to work with this file. You'll notice you can't go over 2 gigs in Photoshop. It won't let you make a file over 2 gigs. So you do need to pay attention if you are using really, really big photos. So if you need to ever resize your photo to make it a little bit smaller, this is the way to do it. So this photo is currently at a 72 resolution, which is standard web format. It's 54 inches by 72 inches. That's huge. That's a big file. So what I can do is I can just take it down and it'll tell me what it's reading as I bring it down. So if I bring it down, it says it went from 57 megabytes to 2 megabytes. And you see this is linked. So everything will link accordingly. If I unlink it, I can change the dimensions willy-nilly. But as you see, the properties of the photo change when I, get rid of those constraints. So that's something also that if you did take photos on your iPhone, you have a nice iPhone, and you're like, all of my photos are huge. I really need to lower the size of some of them so that I can work with them better. That's the way to go. Just go to image size, and just take that size down to where you get to something a little bit more manageable. Something in the 1 to 5 megabyte range is a lot more manageable of a size. So that's something that could potentially come up. If your program's crashing a lot, that's probably what it is, just really big files. Some people will have to do that, others won't. Likewise, your canvas size. So let's say, for instance, you're making your piece and you realize, oh my God, I really wish I had a little bit more room on the sides because I want to make this landscape and I wanted to make it look like it's really wide. And like, well, how do I do that? I'm like way far into the project. I don't know how to do that. You're in luck. It's really easy. If you need to add more canvas, if you're working and you like, I want to make this one way or the other a little bit bigger, you can do that by just changing the canvas. So we're working with 11 by 14 inch canvas. So let's say I want to make it, let's say I want to make the canvas, let's go wide. Let's say I want to make it about, I don't know, 18 inches wide. And let's say I want to have it extend on either side of the picture. As you see here, I've been moving this up and down to show you that you can choose which side you build more space on, but we can go just straight in the middle. And let's say I want to go and I want to make my width 30. It will now default to the middle. And so now I've given myself a little bit more canvas on either side. I'm going to Control Z to take that back. If I only wanted room on one side, let's say I just need it to be on the right side of this person, and I still need it to be a little bit bigger, but nothing too crazy. I can just go in and then just popped in and just added a little bit to the one side. So you have authorship over, how your landscape or your architecture looks on the screen or in the composition. You have that ability to change things up as you go. So you're not beholden to that one particular scale. If you want to break away from the 11 by 14, you can. So that's canvas size and that's image size. Saving files in progress. So I mentioned people's computers potentially crashing. That's always a reality in any program. The more files or the more layers you work with, the more likely it is to happen. So a shortcut for saving in Photoshop is just Command S, and it will ask you, where do you want to save it to? The Creative Cloud? Do you want to save it on your computer? And that is up to you. All I would say is definitely give your file an actual name so you can find it easily. So if I went to photo collage demo, now I have some solid words I can go back to. I'm like, okay, now I know where to find that. And it's going to save as a Photoshop file. And the C at the end just means that it's saved to the Creative Cloud. If I just saved it to my computer, there wouldn't be a C on the end. So if you don't see the C, it's fine. You're just saving it to your computer. So that's a workable file that we can go back, we can edit. If I were to leave this, go to bed, come back the next day, I could open up that Photoshop file, bam, it'd be like nothing had changed. The only thing that changes is if you need to export as a JPEG or a PNG file. And that process of saving is a little different. And you can do that in different ways. So an easy way to do it is just to go to File and then Export as. Then you get a whole lot of different options under this Format tab. And from there, you can choose what you want to save it as, whether it be a JPEG, PNG, what have you. That's an easy way to export as a JPEG. Because you'll notice if I go to Save As right now, I don't have that option of saving as anything other than a Photoshop file. Okay, so that's how you'll save if you want to save anything other than Photoshop. Just go to Export and then Export As. So that's how you open a file, save a file, bring in your photos. So that's really how you're going to get your project kicked off. Just open up a new file and put your first photo in. That's really going to jump your project, be the jumping point. A tool that you might end up using is your transform tool. So let me go back a little bit. I'm going to Command plus, and that's just going to zoom my screen in. So that's another handy shortcut. If you need to zoom in or out, you can use the magnifying glass. And where is it? Here you go. And that will zoom you in and out, as much as you need. We're going to go through a lot of the tools, but we probably won't get to all of them. Photoshop is robust. You can do a ton with the program, a ton. So let's go ahead and let's open up another photo. I'm not sure sure, we can work with this window. So I'll drag it in, Command minus, I'm going to zoom out some. And let's say we want to put this picture of this window right here. Let's say, yeah, we're good. We want to do that. Actually, no, I changed my mind. I want to make the window a little bit smaller before I start cutting away. And you might think, oh God, what do I do? I've already hit enter. How am I going to do this? The transform tool. Okay, so the shortcut for that, if you want to write down the shortcut, is Command T. That'll be your shortcut for doing any transforming. The actual transform, if you forget, it's just under edit, and you can find it here as well. So shortcut is Control T, but if you need to do anything like rescale something, you can do it there. I can rotate it since I'm not going to transform it. I could rotate it if I wanted. Since I'm in the transform, I can right click and get those same options that I had right here. And you can do a ton of stuff. And I'm sure many of you will want to play around with transform a lot in your project, because you can do all types of things like change the perspective. Ooh, that kind of looks interesting. I might keep that there. And so I would really encourage you to go through and see what all you can accomplish just with this tool alone. Warping gets a little funky too. It's kind of neat. It's kind of neat what you can do with that as well. I think that's everything. Oh, distort. So again, just showing you just some of the different things that you can do to change your angles, because as you're building up your architecture, you'll probably will need to change the angle of a few things. I mean, I'm not for sure what you're going to end up doing, but I would imagine that would come in handy. So I'm going to go back. I just Control Z. I think I'm going to go back to where it was right here, and I'm going to hit enter. And so that's number 7. That's using the transform tool. That can do everything from scale, rotate, change the perspective. You can do some really intense warping like you saw, where you're kind of mixing all the pixels around. Really handy tool. Once again, that shortcut is Command T, or if you're on a PC, it's Control T, and highly worth doing. Number 8 was the undo or shortcut, and we already did that. That's Control Z. That's just going back. That's taking back what you last did. If you forget, that's also under edit. Okay, so that's the undo, and then there's a redo right under that. So if you forget any of the shortcuts, just know it's likely under edit or image. for whatever you want to do. I'm going to pause for a second and just see if there's any questions so far about any of the tools that I've showed you.